It's funny how y'all over there trying to diagnose my child. He is okay. Pray for his little cold to go away. What y'all want to see the medicine take? No, none of your business. You feel me? Like, y'all just overly doing too much on this live. They said Chrisean finna be on the run because somebody was able to send pictures to the police department of Chrisean's junior genital parts, and they said he was bleeding from his diaper. She allegedly has not been taking him to his hernia surgeries, so they're not up to date as well. He also has severe diaper rashes. I worship you, Father. I worship you, Father.
Now that's poison. No, I'm not good. I'm not good. You made me right away. Are you going to vote? Hold on, sit. Are you going to vote? No, with the baby in your head.
Sorry, guys. What are we doing? What are we doing today, Chrisean? What are we doing?
While the baby was being made and did nothing. You did nothing. You watched her. You watched her because you were scared she was in control of the money. I wouldn't have gave a about that money. I'd have snatched her ass up and took her to home and made sure she at least got the mental help and counseling that she needed during her pregnancy so that she wouldn't have to regret it for the rest of her life. But don't point the finger at me, because I ain't never smoked no weed, drunk no liquor. I never did nothing while I was pregnant. I took my vitamins every day, even though they made me nauseous. I fought for my kids to be here. Now,
the internet didn't just gasp this time, it clutched its chest, spilled its drink, and asked, wait, what did she just say? Because according to what exploded across social media, Chrisean Rock wasn't flexing, fighting, or trending. For KS, she was allegedly breaking down, voice cracking, begging for help after claims that baby Chrisean Jr. choked on lung fluid. And the way this story surfaced, it didn't creep in quietly. It kicked the door down like a leaked voicemail at 3 a.m. screaming emergency while the comment section went full detective mode. 1 second timelines were full of memes. The next they looked like in her waiting room with Wi-Fi. Screenshots, clips, reposts, pauses, rewinds. Everyone suddenly became a medical expert, a parenting judge, and a crisis analyst all at once. This wasn't just another influencer scare. This felt darker, heavier, and messier, the kind of moment that makes reality TV look like preschool television. And let's be honest, when a scandal makes the Kardashians look organized, you already know we're in dangerous viral territory. Because when desperation replaces bravado and the internet smells panic, it doesn't whisper, it feasts. And what leaked next? That's where this story stops being gossip and starts feeling like a ticking clock nobody wanted. To hear to understand why this moment hit the internet like defibrillator to the chest, you have to understand the world Chrisean Rock lives in, a world where chaos is currency, emotions are content, and every crisis becomes public property within seconds. Chrisean has never been marketed as calm, cautious, or calculated. She's been branded as raw, reckless, and loud enough to drown out criticism with sheer volume. So when whispers began spreading that she was allegedly breaking down, begging for help after claiming her baby choked on lung fluid, it didn't feel like normal drama. It felt like the mask slipped. This wasn't a flex. This wasn't a clapback. This wasn't a viral rant meant to trend for laughs. The tone people claimed to hear was different, shaky, frantic, stripped of the bravado that usually defines her presence online. And that alone sent shockwaves through timelines. Because when someone known for thriving in chaos suddenly sounds scared of it, people pay attention. The phrase lung fluid became the trigger word. To syllables that turned gossip blogs into emergency bulletins, screenshots spread without context, clips replayed on loop, and captions screamed urgency like sirens strapped to text. No one paused to verify. No one waited for clarity. The internet doesn't do patience, it does reaction. And this reaction came fast, loud, and unforgiving. What made it worse was the history. Chrisean's past has been dissected more times than a true crime documentary. Every argument, every arrest headline, every viral meltdown has been archived by strangers who treat her life like an open case file. So the moment concern for her child entered the narrative, critics didn't start from zero. They came armed with receipts, assumptions, and prewritten verdicts. Supporters rushed in just as fast, insisting people were reaching, exaggerating, and exploiting a scary moment. They reminded everyone that social media clips don't equal medical reports and that fear doesn't automatically mean failure. But on the internet, nuance doesn't trend, outrage does. And outrage was already clocking millions of views. The first wave of reactions split instantly. One side shouted empathy, calling for prayers, privacy, and restraint. The other side demanded accountability, questioning decisions, parenting, and responsibility with zero hesitation. It wasn't a conversation, it was a collision. And in the middle of it all sat a baby who never signed up for any of this. What escalated the tension even more was the silence that followed. No immediate clarification, no clean statement. No neat timeline explaining what happened and when, just fragments, gaps, unanswered questions. And when information goes quiet, speculation gets loud. The absence of details became fuel for theories, each wilder than the last. TikTok analysts suddenly turned into armchair doctors, breaking down breathing patterns and medical terminology. Like they were on-call specialists, Twitter threads mapped out alleged timelines with timestamps pulled from thin air. Instagram blogs slapped dramatic fonts and red arrows on blurry screenshots, because nothing screams credibility like breaking in all caps. And then came the comparisons. People started saying this was bigger than influencer drama, heavier than relationship chaos. They compared it to moments where celebrity lives spiral publicly, where private fear becomes public spectacle. Some even said it felt like watching a reality show cross a line it can't uncross, where entertainment collides with real-world consequences. Chrisean's image complicated everything. She's never been framed as the nurturing, soft-focused celebrity mother the internet loves to protect. She's been framed as volatile, unpredictable, and unapologetic. So when panic allegedly replaced confidence, critics pounced. They questioned judgment. They questioned readiness. They questioned everything, loudly and mercilessly. But what really unsettled people wasn't just the allegation itself. It was the desperation implied. Begging for help isn't part of Chrisean's usual script. She's known for fighting, not pleading, for yelling, not breaking down. That contrast made the situation feel heavier, darker, and more real than her usual viral storms. Some fans pointed out that fear doesn't discriminate, that panic doesn't care about public personas. They argued that a scared mother doesn't need interrogation, she needs support. Others weren't buying it. They insisted that public figures invite public scrutiny, especially when their lives are already monetized through chaos. The algorithm didn't care which side was right. It rewarded whoever was loudest. Videos analyzing her tone went viral. Reaction clips racked up views. Commentary channels framed the situation like a cliffhanger episode, teasing what really happened without answers, because uncertainty sells better than clarity. And through all of this, one uncomfortable truth hovered over the entire situation. Nobody outside that circle actually knew what was happening. Everything was secondhand. Everything was filtered. Everything was amplified. But that didn't stop millions of people from forming conclusions in real time. The tension reached its peak when people started asking the questions no influencer ever wants trending under their name. Should someone step in? Should authorities be involved? Should this stay online at all? Once those questions enter the chat, the narrative shifts from drama to danger. Chrisean Rock has survived public scrutiny before. She's outlasted scandals, breakups, and backlash that would have ended other careers. But this felt different. This wasn't about clout. This wasn't about beef. This was about fear, raw, ugly, and uncontrollable fear, whether real, exaggerated, or misunderstood. And that's what made the internet hold its breath. Because once a story moves from spectacle to stakes, there's no easy reset button. Whatever the truth turns out to be, the damage of speculation had already begun. Reputations were being rewritten in real time. lines were being crossed without permission. As the first wave of shock settled, one thing became painfully clear. This story wasn't going to fade quietly. It wasn't going to be solved with a single post or dismissed as just another rumor. The internet had locked in. The audience was waiting. And the next development was guaranteed to make things even messier. The moment this situation left the realm of concern and entered full-blown cultural meltdown was when the internet did what it does be. A stage, it picked sides and turned speculation into sport. What started as fear allegedly expressed online quickly mutated into a circus of reactions, hot takes, and think pieces masquerading as empathy. Because when a story involves a celebrity, a child, and a hint of danger, social media doesn't slow down, it accelerates. Reaction videos exploded overnight. Faces stitched onto clips, people pausing every 2 seconds to say, "Notice her tone right here," like they were breaking down the Zapruder film. Everyone suddenly had a theory. And every theory came with a ring, light, and a Patreon link. Concern became content, fear became monetized, and the algorithm sat back like a casino dealer raking in views. Celebrities didn't even need to name names. Vague posts started popping up about protecting children, breaking cycles, and healing before parenting. You know the type, indirect enough to dodge accountability, direct enough to ignite speculation. Fans connected dots that may or may not have existed, because on the internet, implication is treated like evidence. Then came the memes, because nothing says we're uncomfortable like humor wrapped in disbelief. Some compared the situation to a reality show episode that forgot it wasn't fiction anymore. Others joked that this was the moment where the plot went too far, where the writers lost control. Dark humor, absolutely, but predictable. The internet copes with chaos by laughing at it until it feels manageable. Meanwhile, public outrage took on a life of its own, comment sections filled with people demanding action, answers, and accountability, all without access to facts. The loudest voices weren't doctors or officials. They were strangers with opinions sharpened by past scandals. Every previous controversy Chrisean had ever been involved in got dragged into the spotlight like it suddenly explained everything. Pop culture comparisons went wild. People likened the reaction cycle to past celebrity breakdowns where concern turned into condemnation in under a day. Others said this felt like watching a slow-motion train wreck where everyone knows something bad might happen, but nobody can look away. Some even claimed this was the inevitable result of living life online, where private moments get flattened into viral moments, and the narrative kept shifting. 1 minute it was pray for the baby, the next it was this is negligence, and then suddenly it was the system needs to intervene. The goalposts moved faster than the facts. And once the word intervention starts trending, panic doesn't just ripple, it surges. What fueled the fire even more was the silence from official channels. No clean explanation dropped in to shut the noise down. No calm clarification arrived to ground the chaos. And in that vacuum, the internet filled in the blanks with worst-case scenarios. Because when information goes quiet, imagination gets loud. Commentary pages framed the story like a cliffhanger episode. What really happened? The truth they don't want you to know. The language alone told you this wasn't about resolution, it was about retention. Keep them watching, keep them guessing. Keep the panic simmering just enough too. Come back tomorrow. Chrisean's public persona became both the shield and the weapon used against her. Supporters argued that she's been unfairly judged for years, that people project narratives onto her without mercy. Critics fired back that when your life is a public spectacle, scrutiny comes with the territory. It wasn't a debate, it was a shouting match where empathy kept getting trampled. And let's talk about the armchair experts. Medical jargon started flying around like confetti. People tossed around terms they barely understood, diagnosing situations from pixelated clips and secondhand captions. It was confidence without credentials, outrage without restraint. Everyone wanted to be the loudest voice in the room, not the most accurate. The irony. The more people claimed they cared about the baby, the more the baby became background noise. To adult arguments, the focus drifted from well-being to blame, from concern to clout. The situation turned into a morality play, with Chrisean cast as either tragic figure or villain. Depending on who was holding the microphone, public outrage peaked when people started predicting consequences, careers ending, custody questions, long-term fallout, none of it confirmed, all of it confidently stated, because on the internet, speculation doesn't wait for permission. It declares itself truth and dares anyone to challenge it. At the same time, supporters pushed back hard. They accused critics of exploiting a scary moment for engagement. They called it hypocrisy, reminding everyone how quickly the internet pretends to care before tearing someone apart. They argued that fear doesn't make someone unfit, it makes them human. But outrage is louder than defense, and negativity travels faster than nuance. The algorithm favors heat, not balance. So the most extreme takes rose to the top, drowning out the voices calling for patience. The story wasn't just trending, it was mutating, growing uglier by the hour. By now, the situation had crossed a dangerous threshold. It wasn't just about what allegedly happened, it was about what people believed it meant, and belief, once hardened online, is almost impossible to reverse. Reputations were being reshaped in real time, and the verdicts were being written in comment sections. This is the point where scandals stop being moments and start becoming labels, where a single incident, real or misunderstood, begins to define a narrative bigger than itself. And that's when the stakes change, because once the internet decides who you are, it rarely waits around for updates. As the noise reached a deafening pitch, one thing became undeniable: this wasn't blowing over. Too many eyes were locked in, too many opinions were invested, and whatever came next, clarification, escalation, or silence, was guaranteed to shift the story yet again. Because when outrage peaks, the fallout doesn't fade quietly, it lingers, reshaping relationships, public perception, and future headlines. And as the dust began to settle just enough to see the damage forming, the real consequences were only starting to come into focus. By the time the outrage hit its peak, the story had already slipped into its most dangerous phase, the aftermath. This is the part nobody can control, where perception hardens into reputation and the internet decides what this moment will mean long after the headlines stop screaming. Because scandals don't end when the noise fades, they end when the narrative locks in, and this one was locking fast. What followed wasn't clarity, it was consequence. The kind that doesn't arrive with sirens but settles in quietly, reshaping how people look at you forever. Chrisean Rock didn't need a new statement to feel the shift. You could see it in how the conversation changed. The jokes slowed, the memes thinned out, the tone turned colder, heavier, more judgmental. That's when you know a viral storm has crossed from entertainment into exile territory. Public perception doesn't ask for nuance, it demands simplicity. And the simplest version of this story was also the most damaging. People stopped asking what happened and started declaring what kind of person this proves she is. That's the real fallout. Because once the internet turns an event into a character judgment, there's no undo button. Every past controversy suddenly felt amplified. Things that had nothing to do with this moment were dragged back into the spotlight like unpaid debts. Old clips resurfaced. Old arguments got replayed with new captions. The narrative became cumulative, as if the internet was building a case instead of following a story. One incident became a symbol, and symbols are heavier than facts. Relationships felt the pressure too. Silence from people who used to be loud. Supporters didn't go unnoticed. Absence became interpreted as condemnation. Even neutral reactions were treated like betrayal. Because in the court of public opinion, you're either defending loudly or you're guilty by association. The irony was brutal. The same internet that thrives on chaos suddenly demanded responsibility. The same audience that rewards recklessness suddenly insisted on maturity. It was a whiplash standard that no one ever really survives. Chrisean was being judged not just as a celebrity, but as a mother, a symbol, a cautionary tale. all at once. And here's the part nobody likes to admit: outrage fatigue set in. After days of non-stop reaction, people began to move on, not because the situation was resolved, but because the algorithm found something new. That's the quietest cruelty of viral culture. The damage remains, but the crowd leaves. You're left standing in the aftermath while the internet scrolls to the next disaster. The long-term impact lingered in subtler ways. Commentary channels framed her name differently. Headlines used sharper language. Even neutral updates carried an edge. The story had rewired how audiences consumed anything associated with her. Skepticism replaced curiosity. Judgment replaced entertainment. Supporters tried to reclaim the narrative, urging people to remember humanity, to stop treating real fear like a season finale. But their voices sounded smaller now, drowned out by the permanence of first impressions. Because the internet rarely revisits conclusions, it archives them. This moment also exposed something darker about online culture. How quickly concern transforms into condemnation, how easily fear becomes fuel, how a child's well-being can be discussed endlessly without anyone actually knowing the truth. It was a reminder that viral empathy is often shallow, and viral outrage is deeply sticky. For Chrisean, the future didn't look neatly packaged anymore. Every move would be watched through this lens, every mistake magnified, every silence interpreted. That's the price of a scandal that crosses emotional boundaries. It doesn't just trend, it brands. And yet, the story didn't end with a clear villain or hero. It ended with ambiguity, with unanswered questions, with discomfort, the kind that lingers because there's no satisfying resolution. No apology tour can erase speculation. No clarification can fully undo a moment that went viral at the wrong time. What remained was a cautionary echo, a reminder that when life unfolds online, the internet doesn't just witness it. It owns it, it reshapes it, it retells it louder, uglier, and more permanent than reality ever intended. As the noise finally settled, one truth became impossible to ignore. This wasn't just another scandal, it was a turning point. The kind that changes how someone is seen, talked about, and remembered. Whether fair or not doesn't matter to the algorithm. Impact is. And the impact was clear. A reputation altered, a narrative rewritten, a line crossed that can't be uncrossed. Because in the world of viral fame, breaking down doesn't just show vulnerability, it invites judgment. And once judgment goes public, it never really leaves. The internet will move on. It always does. But the shadow of this moment will follow, resurfacing every time her name trends again, every time a clip goes viral, every time the audience thinks they've seen this story before. Now let's talk, because this is where you come in. If this story made you uncomfortable, angry, confused, or glued to your screen wondering how we even got here, congratulations! You're officially awake to how wild internet culture has become. This isn't just about Chrisean rock. This is about what happens when real life collides headfirst with viral addiction and nobody hits the brakes. Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't hold back. Do you think the internet crossed a line, or do public figures invite this level of scrutiny? Was this genuine panic turned into spectacle, or a moment that exposed deeper issues people ignored for too long? Say it with your chest, because the comment section is where the real debate lives. And if this video kept you locked in, smash that like button like it owes you money. Hit it like the algorithm has been playing in your face. Likes tell YouTube we're not whispering, we're talking loud. Then hit subscribe, because stories like this don't stop. They evolve, they resurface, and they always come back louder. Then before this channel doesn't sugarcoat chaos, we break it down, flip it inside out, and expose how fast empathy turns into outrage in the digital age. Scandals don't knock anymore, they barge in. And when they do, this is where you'll find the full breakdown. No filter, no mercy. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next bombshell. Because trust me, the internet never sleeps. And neither do these scandals. Today it's concern, tomorrow it's consequences, And next week, a whole new headline nobody saw coming. Remember, in the world of celebrity chaos, silence is temporary. But screenshots are forever. Welcome to Celeb Insanity, where the truth doesn't whisper, it detonates.